Hello, Richard Lermont.
Hey, Chris. Welcome back.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
So I love the conversations we have, and we kind of we choose topics that are inspiring and inspired, frankly. And today we're going to talk about the context or the concept of surrender. Surrender, you know.
hmm
So here we live in times as they are, and there's economic situations going on, and there are things we can control, there are things we can't control, and we're being told to just surrender what you can't control. From my perspective, as I was in the military, I spent many years as a Marine Corps officer in the military. And when you say surrender, that's not a good thing because that's waving the white flag and you're surrendering and the enemy overtakes you.
Right.
So what's your perspective on in the context of the word surrender and how we could make it something that we can process as a good thing in our lives?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks for that, Chris. Um, Surrender, that can sound like a real scary thing, in the sense that, especially when it comes to uh, spirituality or religion and politics, when you surrender, you kind of giving yourself to the other. And that can be a little daunting. But I like the word in the sense and use it in a way that I find it to be empowering in the sense that surrendering to one's own nature, not surrendering to someone else's authority, but to your own authority. And meaning that we have a mechanism that's built into us that lets us know our truth, lets us know when we're in the right place, when we're in the right direction, when we're in the right people, when we're getting involved with things that's correct for us. It speaks to us through this body here, this vehicle thing we call our body, and it's really, it has these sensors that lets us know. But the mind is so captivated by everything outside that's going on that it's so interested in all of the things, the illusions that we create in the world, that it wants to go after these things. That's its interest. That it's easy for it to surrender to those things and to surrender to wealth and surrender to someone else's love, you know, and forget that we have something deep inside of us that's beckoning for us to surrender to, the real truth, the real thing that we can truly trust, you know, that's the thing that's inside of us. And that's what we need to really learn about surrendering to. And when we are able to tap into that, it's built into it's in our design. We're wired up this way. When we come to really knowing and honoring and following, surrendering to that process that's within, it leads us always to the right experiences that we need to have outside, in the outside world, with the right people, in the right places, the right time, you know? Even though the mind might see it as something as, oh, wow, that seems really sketchy. When we're really truly following and we surrender to this power that's within us, that experience that the mind might see as something as not so, it can't understand, um, it can be exactly what we need, that even though it might be something challenging, it might be something intense or whatever, the mind is afraid of it. But when we enter it from that place of our knowing, from a place of our own authority, it is exactly what we're supposed to have. And it creates an incredible, whatever it is we're going to get, transformation or something for the others, while everyone gets exactly what they need. And so that's what I find surrendering to be really a beneficial thing to.
Right. So the key, I think, if you're going to surrender to something, it's got to be something that you can trust, because surrender implies vulnerability. And if you surrender to a situation where there's a power or an energy or a force or whatever that's going to overcome you and overbear you, that's not a good thing to surrender to, I guess, right? because then you end up being overcome by something that you don't necessarily agree with. So it's that trust, it's vulnerability, and kind of what you said before, it's about, you know, what is your power, right? Surrendering to your power and yourself.
Authority. Yeah.
Yeah, your
own
authority, right?
Mhm.
What is that authority? And I guess the key is to, first of all, understand what that authority is.
Mhm.
And then, you know, just funny as I just kind of process here, I loved how you and I always kind of come back to the same context of being holistic, right?
Mhm.
Yin and a yang, two parts make a whole. You know, Richard and Chris, we make a whole, right? So there's the light and the dark. If you surrender to the dark, you know, then you could be overcome by the darkness. Think of Star Wars, right? You know, the Force, right? The Force is all about balance between dark and light.
Mhm.
I think contextually, as we apply the metaphor, making sure that you're creating an implication of vulnerability and trust, and knowing what that authority is that you agree with or have consensus with, versus letting an authority in that will take advantage of that vulnerability and that trust. Where are you going
Yeah.
with?
And, you know, if you enter into the situation correctly based on trusting your own authority, whatever your authority is guiding you to either enter into that thing or not, and it leads you into something that's dark, then that dark experience can be something very enlightening. It can be, you know, absolutely exactly what you needed to have this experience to bring light to your, you know, to
To the
your path.
shadow,
Yeah.
I guess. So what you're talking about in essence is shadow work, right?
Well, whatever name, you know, you want to give to it, but I'm just saying that when we are trusting that thing within us, when we learn how to do that, when we discover it, and we can trust that authority thing inside of us, then it is the thing that's going to always direct us and put us in the right place. And that's what we need to truly surrender to. Is my point really?
So the key is to understand what that essence is. Don't surrender to a force that could overtake and create dysfunction and addiction or something, but surrender to a force that you're aware of, again, whether it be your inner authority. So you need to understand what that inner authority is. And it seems like the evolution of this conversation could become it could become spirituality, it could become theology, it could become religion potentially, you know, as you
Mhm.
surrender to a god or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But maybe we should pick that up next time.
Yeah, we can pick that up next time. And I'm not exactly saying that anyone should not do anything. I'm not saying don't do anything. You can do whatever you like. But I'm just saying in terms of getting back to the essence of the topic around surrender, I use that word in such a way that when I surrender to my own authority, it gives me this real sense of grounding. It gives me the experiences that I have feels very fulfilling.
Here's the fulfillment.
Cheers
So
to that.
our blessing for everybody is to be fulfilled, right? Be able to surrender to something that fulfills you. So good stuff. Thank you.